Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this interview with my lovely friend, Lisen Bengtsson, who is a fabulous facilitator of business, and she works a lot with horses. So I'm bringing her on today to ask her some questions about this horse thing and how she creates with that. So welcome, Lisen.
Oh, yeah, so thank you so much. Thanks for the lovely horsey introduction.
Right? We cannot leave Monty Python out in these days.
Definitely not. I almost thought you were going to start singing, as you often do when you're riding with me. So I was like, I never know with you. You and a horse, there's different experiences.
Right? Lisa took me last year to Spain to ride some horses daily, and we had some funny adventures. I even ended up against a tree, face to face.
But she did well. She was not injured. She was just laughing as much as she can.
Yeah, and maybe I'm gonna let's lead to the first question. Is horses can show us how we function, how we can you say more about how you create with horses and yeah.
It's fun to see because you can definitely go out riding and not be connected to a horse. It's more work, I presume, but again, there is different experiences with horses, and it's up to us what kind of things we'd like to invite to our lives. And one thing that since I was 1 year, I was so determined to have a dog, and it ended up when I was a bit more grown up having my dogs. I love animals, and it has been a natural thing to me to have them around, to talk to them, to be with them and all that. So when I was riding when I was a kid. I ended riding quite early when we moved to Germany. And then I started again when I started Access Conscious because Gary Douglas loves horses. There's horses around, right?
Yeah.
And then I always kept on talking about them and all that. And you can ask them questions. And then I understood it because I was working so much with dogs and also helping dogs that had problems and all that. But it was always, if I didn't ask them a question, I didn't receive the information, what I could create and contribute to this dog. If I did it from what I learned how you're supposed to do it, you can always do that. So you can do that with a horse too. Or you start inviting them to show you a different possibility. And that's where I don't make myself bigger or that I know more than a horse. I'm aware what's required when I'm sitting on a horse or working with a horse from the perspective that it's an animal and it's big and it weighs a bit more than me, and all of those things you have to be aware of course, because you're dealing with, it's the same thing if you're dealing with dogs. You be aware of the dog, what they can also be and do. But then there's a different world where you can have different communication. You can receive for them. They can show you the world where you're not willing to be, where you're avoiding yourself, where you're going into judgments, where you are being unkind to yourself. And they also show you when you're present, when you're contributing, when you're being aware of things. And it's almost like when you do exercises, for me, for example, when I do exercises with the horse, and it can be anything from just walking a horse, standing with it, doing body work, anything. There is a presence in that moment that they acknowledge whoever you're being. And they also invite you in so many different ways. It's not like they'll do this or this if you do that or that. It's not that linear. But they will show you if you're willing to be open, if you're willing to ask, vulnerable, and also not try to figure it out. But they can also show you those things. And that's what I love, because there's no judgments. There's space for you. You can go into it. But I hear a lot of people, yes, when I go out riding or when we run, that's when I'm so connected to a horse. And I'm like, okay, that's one way of being connected. But that's often because we love the speed. We like the adventure. I have had the fortunate experience to work with some trainers that say, hey, if you can't sit on a horse really properly, and that can take to, I don't know how much time. And we think we're sitting on a horse, but there's a different way of sitting, connected, being, melting in together, and where there is a oneness with a horse that most people never get to because they don't ask about it.
And so, because I know you also use it, with Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, which is an Access Consciousness specialty class. it's not only about sitting on a horse and being connected to the horse, right? So how does that, like, you know, how have you seen, like, for example, that, like, how people learn to be with themselves on a horse? What has that been, like, what have you seen that also can create in their business or their lives or their relationships?
Yeah, the class is not about riding at all. You do some exercises are about sitting on a horse and all that, but it's a lot about receiving who you're being. For me, it's a leadership training. That's where I also have people coming from outside of Access doing some of these things together, because it is such a presence. And what I've seen after classes where people see what is awareness? How does a question really work? What is interesting point of view? What is this 10-second increments? That's one of the funniest things I've seen, because we say a lot in Access, one of the tools is 10 seconds increment. Every choice is active or alive for 10 seconds, and then it's choice time again. And most people don't really, it's like, why would I choose every 10 seconds? It's a lot of work.
Annoying.
With animals, I've seen that in action so many times that there's no doubt anymore to that tool. So what I see with the tools is they're in action with animals, and with horses even more because they're so impressive big. But this works with every animal. Well, basically, I haven't done with every animal, so I shouldn't be saying that, but I've done a lot with dogs, some cats, horses, and then other mules, even other animals that works. I haven't worked with cows yet, so maybe not, I don't know. But that's where I'm like, okay, let's stick to horses and dogs, where I'm very well use the tools a lot. And what I see is people don't doubt. It just becomes natural for them to use them with themselves, with others. And I think the most common comment I get after class, oh, it's so much easier now to be with people. So by working with horses, they land in themselves who they be, how to use the tools, how to be with access, what's the question work, and all those things that start being up here, it goes into, it's something you be and use in your daily life. So the comment coming back, oh, it's so much easier with people because they're not so stuck in their head anymore. And then they start choosing to create their lives instead of trying to figure out what's the right choice. Figuring out the right choice with animals does not work. The animal will be totally uninterested in you. Because
it doesn't work with business either, right? But we tend to think like sometimes it works, and then we kind of like buy like, oh, it works really well. Let me do that again, and let me do it differently. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you can force a lot into existence. You can be very structured and things will work out. But it's just, how would you like to create your life? How would you like to work? One came back from, it was from Austria also last year. It was so cute because she was already writing and working with this writing school a bit, but there was a lot going on in her life where she was not so happy. And I talked to her about not even half a year later. She had lost a lot of weight. She had changed jobs, so let go of the job she had where she didn't like. She started her home business and was so joyful. And I was like, oh, wow. And she knew it was the choices that she made during the class to create a different life. And this is where I see people creating differently afterwards from knowing also the greatness of them, because a lot of people make themselves wrong and doubt. And this aspects come along if you're employed or you have your own business or with money, it all comes along. So it's also almost like you're creating from that energy, from that space. When you're doing that with animals, they basically look at you, hey, could you do something else? I want to create with you. So they invite you to be in your natural way of being, where you are present, where you ask questions, where you act and create with them. And that becomes like an energy, So you also see when you start checking out or you're going to judgments, because the energy shifts. So you get to perceive the shifts with the animal together, and it kind of like amplifies. So you get also to determine, how does things work for you? Because we're all different. We're all different. And also the horses are different.
I still remember last year when we went riding, how one of us asked, okay, I want to ask some questions about money. And the horse literally took off all to the side, like in the middle of the field. Like it was so funny to see, like, wow. And like, is that in any way how you're now being with that part of your life that you're looking at? I was so amazed to see, like, wow, you just asked the horse, can you show me
Yeah.
A different, like, I cannot recall the exact, like.
I remember you also asking about that, because we're looking, because I was like, just ask the horse to show you something. Yeah. And it does. It's not, you will not know exactly what it does, but if you're willing to receive in that moment the information that is there without concluding it's right or wrong, they'll show you. Again, if you're checking out, they'll show you that with money. I asked the horse that then became my horse, when I was riding it, it wasn't the first time, but I remember we had to wait, and I was like, hey, can you just show me how the universe is connected or something different? And it didn't take a couple minutes, and it was like almost like the dimensions of how we can be connected to everything. I was sitting there like, and it was almost like I could reach out to the universe almost physically. And I was like, what? And it's not necessarily just the horse, but it's an energy that is there that wants to contribute fully to you, that I see doesn't have the same limitations of our cognitive brain trying to figure it out. It's just like, here, you're welcome. I'll be with you. I'll be with you even if you are not nice to me. I'll be here an invitation and show you something different. And it's really, really cool. And I'll be here if you're totally not interested at all in this. And they're still there for you. And this is something I'm eternally grateful seeing that. And I see that we have the same possibility, but we often go into our heads with a lot of things.
Yeah. And someone writes here, it's like a child. They're inviting us to different possibilities every moment.
Yes. Yeah, they are. Totally. Always. And you also have to be willing to be a leader. Because if you're sitting on a horse, they are looking to your energy for a choice. So if you don't do it, it's the same if you're out with more than one dog, even one dog and more dogs, they will look for you to be the leader. If you're not, they'll choose it. They'll take over.
Yeah.
And they're always looking for somebody, like one that has the pack leader energy, and they invite you to choose that. And when you're being that in your own life, oh my God, things work so much easier. So much easier.
That was so funny, because like the whole, like if the people were here still in the beginning, like where the horse walked into the tree last year, I still remember because I was in the back. And you were not watching at all until I just walked into that tree, and you were like, what are you doing? And in that moment I got like, oh, I was like, because I really had a really nice horse who was taking a lot of care of me, but I kind of became used to like, oh, he will deal with left or right. Like, we just have to get past the tree. And that horse really showed me like, no, you'll have to choose if we do it left or right. Because it's basically the same when you're just on one lane. But it might, like, it creates something very different. Like, it can create something very different. And that was so funny to see that horse showing me, like, hey, you're not choosing. So I'm done choosing for you. I'm just going to stand against the tree till you choose. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, how hilarious. And then Lisen looked at me like, like, a horse never walks against a tree. Like, what is...
No, it doesn't really do that.
It was actually, when I look at it now, it's actually that gentle way how I've, like, sometimes you see like you need heart change or that kind of thing. And usually it's like, for me, it's more like, okay, like I'm not choosing now. So things just stop, where things could move and could be more ease, like, And I was like, wow.
Do you remember when, I don't know if you heard when Gary asked the horse, we always ask the horse if it will take care of us?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that sometimes is misidentified as, well, then I don't have to do so much, or I
don't have to choose.
Exactly.
It will do it. It will all work out fine. We're going to have a fun trip. Like, how often do we do that too, like with the universe, right? Oh, I've asked. It will come. I'll wait.
Oh, the universe takes care of me. What else do people do? They ask they even ask questions so somebody else or something else will create it instead. You are the creator. You can have 100% backup from energy, from the universe, from your friends or your family, forever. But you still have to choose. It's also left, right, or in the tree. It's up to you.
It's just choice. Over the tree.
And I mean, these are trail horses that know how to walk around a tree. So it's like, I've never seen it with them, because they could have a kid that is 3, 4, 5, 6 years old on that, and they will never walk into a tree. So I know when somebody's sitting on and this happens, they are creating. And especially Yasu was asking a lot of questions. So of course it stands in front of a tree, your choice. And I was like, that's hilarious. And this is the beauty of also a facilitation that has no force, but it's very obvious and it's up to you. Of course, Yaso could have just said, well, it has a stupid moment, this horse, that's why we're standing here. Or like, oh, this might be the way I'm choosing. Like, this is the beauty where you don't have to make yourself wrong or the horse, but you're willing to receive the information that is there for you to look at without judgment, without having a point of view. And animals don't have a point of view. They will just show you the energy you're being. That's why the same animal, if it's a horse or a dog, whatever, will show 10 different people, 10 different energies. And especially the ones that really like it. There are animals that don't really care. They're like, can we do it on a different day? So you do have to ask them if they want to be part of it. For example, in the class, I do ask the horses, hey, we have class, who's up for it? And if we have exercises and I need a couple of horses, I ask, who's going to be joining for this exercise? And I have to tell you, Brazil was so funny because we had a stable where, they had these door openings and they were eating. And I came up and just like, hey, who's coming to the next exercise? Boom, 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 3 hands out. Okay, you 3. It was hilarious. It almost worked every time. It was like, they're funny here in Brazil. Okay, they're doing it a different way with me. Very clear, very obvious.
It's maybe like men in Brazil. We're going to do an exercise. Who wants to come? Boom, boom, boom.
I have not tried that question yet there, but let's do that in the future.
Let's go to Brazil.
Oh my God. It's so funny. It works everywhere. It's the same thing that I have a fun always saying things in Swedish to horses. So I joke around that their first language is energy and their second is Swedish. And the funny part, it works with the horses, but it works because if I joke around it, they have fun with it. People say some things in Swedish, but they also choose the energy I'm choosing in that moment. So it really works. It's really funny. It has nothing to do with Swedish. It's just I'm willing to do something with them in Swedish. So I have fun with it. I remember my now horse in Spain, when I said something in Swedish, you're like, what the hell? And I said it in Spanish, and because it knew so many words, it really was really well with words. And then it like, okay, I get you. Okay. And then I said, that's Swedish. It's the same thing. And then after a while, because I kept on saying both, so it even understood the words. So my dog was the same thing. I taught her a lot to talk, just normal words, not commandos. And it was fun to see when I swapped language. It took her a little while. Oh, you're meaning this in this word, because her words were saying something for her too. So it's fun with animals, what you're willing to be, have fun with them, receive. It's so funny. But also, a lot of people that work with horses, they have certain points of views, or people that are scared of certain points of views towards animals or towards a horse. And in that moment, you can't receive beyond that. And that's also in classes very clear, because people come with no idea, no point of view, scared to riding teachers and really well educated with horses. And that mixture, that contribution, because even if you know a lot and you see somebody have no clue doing something else, you're like, ooh. So it's really fun to have both sides in class.
Yeah, so the class, you don't have to be a rider, you don't have to have a horse. It's like open also for children.
Yeah. I love them when the kids come. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Well, if the kids want to be there, that's always I say, ask the parents, like ask your kids, do they want to be there? Most kids do, but it's also really important to ask kids as well. So you don't drag them along or drag a partner along. It's never fun.
That's never fun. Never drag a partner along anywhere. It's not fun.
No, bring them along. Let them have a vacation if they want to, because that's also really great. And then you meet up and have fun in other moments. So it's also something you can do to include a partner in your choices, but don't make them choose what you're choosing.
We get this new meme, like if you wouldn't do it to a horse, don't do it to your partner, kind of.
After you've been to the horse class, that makes much more sense. Oh my God.
Yeah. So leadership.
You?
Yes.
Because when you were in Spain, you also got aware about things. Because you even got like excited, maybe even having a horse in Spain, and you started asking about energies, including contribution, what a horse could contribute to your life. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
we got things with you that were amazing there. Yeah.
We got someone saying, "I'm not a horse." We got a man that was saying, "I'm not a horse." I'm not a horse.
No, you're not.
I I'm not a horse, but I love the energy in that. Like it's something is, yeah. So well, I have been writing a lot when I was little, and then I fell off one day, and I got like walked over by the horse, which was a very interesting thing. And then after that, I didn't really have people around me who would ask me a question, and I was on this point where I became too good for the normal like horses, so I just had somebody who offered me to come and be trained, like to become a better rider and to do some competition and stuff. And then just before that, I fell off, and I kind of got scared, and which is interesting to look at it now, like who did that belong to and what have I been aware of? And like my mom was watching while I fell, and there has been all this kind of like universes I've been aware of while falling and after falling. Also of the horse, because like the horse stepped on me, but horses don't. He stepped on me with one leg and then he jumped off. And I think also for the horse that has created some weirdness into like, you know, they will kind of like kick you off, but then the part of like stepping on, I think I was a little interesting for that animal. So basically after I went into training and after 2 rides, I was so scared and nobody asked me questions. So I just decided to stop. And so after that, I had like a few moments also in Costa Rica where I rode a horse, and then the Spain adventure came, and it was really interesting to actually see like when I got to that horse, I really became vulnerable, and I asked it like, hey, I got this whole history, this whole story. I'd like to change that. Are you going to take care of me? And it was so clear because I would be having like fun on the horse, and I don't know if you remember, but we would be taking videos and pictures, and then every time when we would go and like walk over a certain like path or a river or something where I had to be present, the horse would just stop. I was like, why is it stopping? It's like, put your phone away, become present. And until I was really present and like basically telling the horse energetically, I'm with you, the horse would go. And then at one point, the horse almost fell, but it fell in such a way that he fell and I could stay on. And that showed me like, wow, if you ask to be backed up and if you're willing to be vulnerable and just like, you don't necessarily need to throw away your story. You can just have it, but also not buy it as true. And that's what I want to hold on to. I'd really like to change this. Things will start showing up in a way, if you're willing to have ease, in which they can change and in which you can look like, wow, okay, if I'm choosing to be present, nothing can really happen to me. And so that, for me, that was really impressive to see like, wow, am I also willing to actually ask for a horse or whatever that is that you want to create, like that is going to take care of you? Because that's also part of the thing. Where I think when I was little and I fell off the horse, it was more like, oh my God, this is like this big black horse. It's so awesome. It's so cool if I can ride that one. Where I had another horse who was always willing to take care of me. And she was as crazy as whatever. So it was also that part. Are you willing to ask for things and for people also that are going to take care of you, that are going to be kind, that are going to show you things then that you can become aware of and change, but that also gonna like not have the need to kick you off in one way or the other, even with people, right, who are willing to support and to contribute to you. Yes. And that for me was like, wow. And then before we left, I basically said jokingly to Raul, like, hey, if you ever find a horse for me, let me know. And that was another thing where I got like, wow, like he basically like, he's a man and his job is finding horses for people. And now if you like, very often like men love to do things for us. And that's something I've been refusing a lot, like, you know, just to have that in my universe. But then 2 weeks later, basically he just called like, hey, I got a horse. I was like, oh, that's how it works. You ask and it's happening. Now, yeah, and then I had to start looking at, okay, so what am I asking for in life? I love to ride horses as well. He's riding. Never done that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny to say that because I can by choosing the horse I have, and it was also with Raul. Oh, he wanted to have this horse, so he was kind of looking for somebody to buy it to keep it as well. And I've never really 100% received how much of contribution I'm receiving from a lot of people just by that choice to have this horse in my life, Katja. And it's not only the horse, but the horse also is a really amazing gift and has also contributed to me having a lot more classes and going to Spain and going out in the world with all this awareness and knowledge. And then there's a whole community of people connected to this horse that also are energetically also, and sometimes also chatting and sending messages. And they are all very in this energy of kindness and contributing and all that. It's like, wow, one choice creates a lot of things that you don't really know before you choose it, but there is something that is there. So I was like, oh, when you're saying, okay, yes, it's not only a choice for a horse, it's a choice for a whole creation for your life. Where I'm like, oh, that is so, and it can also be totally different. If you think it's going to be that way, if you want to have it that way, it's very different than, hey, allowing things to contribute to your life and showing up. And I do see animals doing that in an amazing way when we allow it. So I'm like,
Yeah. And that's, yeah. So I've been like, ever since, like going back and forth, shall I do it? And then there's, of course, again, the mind coming like, okay, so what would you do with a horse in Spain? And like, it's so funny too, like, cause that's what logically we learn to do in this reality. We don't learn to actually see like, okay, what is that choice? Like what you said, what is that choice going to create? Like not only my life, but what is it going to create for the world? Even though like, if you would think like, are you still there?
Yeah, my computer jumped around pages. Sorry, I'm here. Yes,
I saw your like anxious
like,
face.
It's weird. It just jumped up. What did it do? And I was like, I can't see you. I'm back. I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. No, and this is like funny, right? Like sometimes you like there's like several ways to look at choices. You can either look at, okay, if I'm like, I can like, do I want a horse? Yes or no? And then like we were just talking before we jumped on the call, like, oh, I feel like so many horses jumping up. And then you said like, yeah, isn't it funny that there's everywhere like horse questions showing up for both of us, except in our own countries, which wouldn't be like a logical thing to look at. Cause like, like, okay, so how are we, a lot of people would look through this reality at climate. Oh, you need to fly, you need to do this. Oh, then you're not going to see your horse a lot. Why would you pay that kind of money? And then there's this way of looking at, okay, so, but if I'm going to choose that, what is that actually going to create? Like, is that going to expand things? And then what I've seen a lot of myself also, but other people do is like, we think that if you choose something and you look for the lightness or the heaviness or expansion or contraction, what's it going to create? That is something we think it's only for us. So you think like, oh, it's expanding, so that means it's a good choice for my life. But what if that expansion actually is not only yours? It's basically what it's going to create in the world. And you don't know how. That horse might die in a month, right? It's like this is where this whole conversation, and I'm really grateful for you too, and for Raul too, because there has been this openness in like, you just have to choose what works. Yeah. So, and that was where I had to look like, oh, this is not a, like, oh, I'm going to either choose it or not. And then I just like throw it off the border and I never have to look at it again. It was really like, no. This is where becoming present and actually looking at, okay, so if I do this, if I don't do this, okay, so if I do this, like, oh, it's not even a money question, because yes, the money might not be here, but then like, how is that going to create? What else can we come up with? Yeah, that whole horse thing has been very interesting and inviting.
It facilitates a lot of aspects of things, and for me, it's not about if somebody has a horse or buys a horse, all that, but I do see where we include more of the world in our lives. Where I've always been committed to animals, so I like that part having my life, and for me, it's this kingdom of we that becomes more real for me because I have things included that I'm committed to. For me, it's super easy to be committed to animals. But again, it's also a commitment. I haven't seen a horse since last September. It might take over a year till I see her, but I've never felt that. I miss her, yes, but I don't feel that there's a lacking in my universe. I don't feel that it costs. I had a conversation with my dad. He's also a businessman, has his own business and all that. And I don't know if it was a year ago or a little over a year, we were looking at this aspect that I have a horse in Spain, because it's a funny conversation and he shows his friends and all that. He's very proud of lots of things. And I mean, I grew up traveling the world and he knows I'm continuing with that. But he was like, oh, you're traveling so much. Yeah, Dad, it's your fault. So we joked
I learned that from you, remember?
Like, what? Well, you're not traveling in the last 10 years, but come on. But it's really funny because we had the conversation because I said to him, it's really interesting to look at my business and what has changed and what has contributed. And since I have a horse, a lot of things have showed up where I also started committing to working with horses and facilitating these conscious horse, conscious rider classes. It became just like I was gliding into, yes, choose that. And
Steven is here. Sorry, I just see it. Hi.
So I was saying to my dad, I hear this often that everybody says it's so expensive to have a horse. And I was like, Dad, it feels like really, it's not that in my universe and it's creating so much business. I was like, this is so funny. For me, it has been a really great investment. He's like, yeah, for you, it's been a really great investment. And I was like, oh, that's a different choice for me in the whole part of it. Yes, does it have a cost? Yeah, but it creates so many new revenue streams where I'm like, oh, this was a cool choice. It doesn't mean that just because you buy a horse or an animal, it will start creating lots of revenue streams. Let's have that a little bit straightened up.
I love this. Buy a horse, grow your business.
It will maybe grow because you get physically more things. And they eat and yeah, it's funny, but I do see that world, and I've been working with quite a few people that have horses that have that point of view, that it costs, they're expensive and all that. And I was like, yeah, they do have costs because it's a living thing or whatever, but it's very interesting to see the point of view and where they are creating. It is very common to say that, yeah, I have a horse and it's more costly, but it's very interesting where it could create something different and they start changing their points of views. And Mr. Stephen Bowman knows all about changing points of views. And I was reading today the Prosperity Conscious book, and it's a point of view creates your reality, hard work, la, 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 la. And I was reading the chapter about that. I'm like, that is so funny. Follow the energy.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so excited to come and take a class with you.
My hair was standing.
So excited. My hair goes. Yeah. So Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider. It's a specialty class of Access Consciousness. Where can people find you, Lisen? Do you have a website where people can?
Not up running yet. So it's on the Access Consciousness website, on Lisen Bengtsson, or just send a message to me. And we have some horse classes coming up. I haven't set up so many because of the interesting times where we're not traveling, but Austria. One in German and one in English. So in August, I'll be in Austria having classes, and let's see how long I stay there, but it's really fun to have the class. And I've been there before, so I also really enjoy having, the horses were amazing. I had 19 horses I could play with, and they were all, yeah, I'm here, I want. And they were really, when we came in with the class, because it was a bigger class, they started moving around and like, I'm first. And I was like, oh my God. And the owners of the horses and the riders were just like, what's going on? And they're doing the same now, so they're even got more present. They were having a really great job, but even a little bit bored because they were put it into a box what they could do and be, and now she's using them in so many different ways. Really cool to see. And I'm so grateful for, they were so open-minded of really want to create something different with the horses. They did something I've never seen anybody do yet. They have 19 horses. That's a lot of horses, no? What they live outdoors in the day, and then they're in the boxes sometimes in the nights, and especially in the winter.
Austrian horses, Stephen says. Point. Yes, we do know what you mean. We're not going to say that out loud.
Austrian horse.
It's Viennese horses, by the way. Very, very special race. Very elegant.
You know what she did? She asked every horse where they want to be, in which box they want to so-called live, because they had their boxes that have been there for years. They were not necessarily unhappy. There was one that was, you could really notice that one was not going to stand there anymore, and they changed her around very quickly, and it was such a gift. And a horse that came in there was really, they needed more movement because it was a bigger box, but that one didn't like it there. It was really interesting. But what she did after class, she went around to ask every horse, and they changed every horse except for 3 or 4. And it shifted the dynamic in the whole stable. And I was like, wow. And I asked her, how did you do that? I just asked them. And I was like,
yeah.
I was freaking, and this is one that didn't use these tools before and just start using them. And it became
and it's so cool because, like, of course, her business is her horse business, and this is where what I love so much with these access tools, and what I'm still like learning every day, is to where do we not ask our business? That if we would ask it, it would change the whole energy actually and create something so much greater. No matter what your business is, it doesn't matter if you work with buildings or architecture or like in an office. You can just ask everything, and it will become so much more ease. So I'm excited, Miss Lisen, to take that class. I've not taken it yet. Yeah, so
I will
be there.
Sing with horses and see what that creates.
Yeah, sing with horses. Oh my God. Yeah.
Why not?
We have if you want to join us, come over to Austria. If people want more information, you can either contact Lisen or
the English class is on the 20th of August. Just so you know, if you want to go to German, it's the weekend before, but the 20th of August, it's 3.5-day class we're doing. So we have a lot of time to work with the horses and create, and it's beautiful there too. It's like with the Alps around us, and it's beautiful. I love the scenery there too, because it's so typical Austrian. Whatever you have a thought about Austria, it's that.
It's that. Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you so much, Lisen. And thank you everybody for watching. And check it out. Check her out. She's amazing. And she's got a lot of amazing businesses that she's creating. So yeah, yummy, yummy, yummy. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasodhara. Thank you so much for inviting me. And have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.